Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Committee Reads. I am your host KWCs, and with me today we have Fat Bacon Unicorn, John Wayne, also known as Alex, Nagoda, and Ultimate Ditto. And today we will be going over match 143, Destoroyah vs. Bagan by Thomas Eckert. Continued from match 56. Destoroyah glared at the beast that stood before him. He heard this creature had been slain by Earth's defenders, but they clearly failed. Despite the horrific assault Earth's mightiest champions bestowed upon him, Bagan was alive. Although his strength paled to what it once was, the demonic beast was still a terror to behold. After his defeat, Bagan spent weeks rebuilding his full power while challenging any beast that came his way. His latest challenger was Destoroyah, a creature who shared many similarities to Bagan. Like the creature standing before him, Destoroyah was a Kaiju, we know that, who enjoyed slaying others while taking pride as Earth's deadliest entity. Destoroyah and Bagan would have been perfect allies, but the previous engagement created a deadly rivalry. If not for the others' interference, Destoroyah would have shown Bagan his true destructive power. Now that he had fully recovered and with Bagan's true strength removed, Destoroyah decided it was time to exact his revenge and take back the title of the planet's ultimate killer. I feel like that semicolon there was used wrong in conjunction with the sentence. I don't know, that could just be me. Destoroyah shrieked fearlessly and fired a micro-oxygen beam onto Bagan. Unlike in their last battle, the attack caused Bagan to howl in pain. His eyes glared as the dragon sprinted toward Destoroyah. Bagan's powerful claws slashed into Destoroyah's armored hide like tissue paper, the thing people are looking for right now. The Precambrian terror shrieked painfully while his chest erupted with blood. Bagan then turned around and bashed Destoroyah's chest with his tail. The winged demon crashed onto the ground with an earth-shattering thud. Bagan laughed as Destoroyah tried to recover. Even with diminished power, he managed to wound Destoroyah without much difficulty. And there's that semicolon again, being misused here. Oh no. His laughter made Destoroyah grit his teeth furiously. Faster than Bagan could respond, the winged crustacean opened his wings and took off, bashing Bagan in the chest with his powerful legs that sent him down onto his back. Destoroyah landed a few yards away, shrieking tauntingly at his fallen opponent. That sounds a little weird to me. Am I the only one? Bagan did his best to stand, but Destoroyah's assaulted him. Destoroyah's assaulted him with micro-oxygen beam. That is really weird. Ugh.
Tell you the truth, I'm actually lost on where we are.
Yeah, Bagan did his best to stand. It's like the third paragraph.
Oh, that's why I'm still in the second paragraph.
Catch up, Nagoda. The explosions forced the dragon to remain down. Ugh. Destoroyah then turned around and wrapped his tail around Bagan's horn, conducting energy into the dragon. As a moan echoed from Bagan's jaws, Destoroyah sent Bagan soaring through the air with its tail. The ground quaked when the gray-colored kaiju landed onto his stomach. Destoroyah's laughter filled the air. Suddenly, the spurs on Bagan's back sparked with electricity. Destoroyah followed the sparks as they ascended up into the sky to discover several diamond-shaped objects forming in the air. The diamond storm crackled with energy as it finished forming and plummeted onto Destoroyah. The armored damnation shrieked in pain as the diamonds carved into his body, even severing a wing to pieces. Bagan arrogantly stood up to see Destoroyah partly damaged by his diamond storm. He grinned wickedly as his mouth glowed white. By the time Destoroyah saw Bagan, it was too late. A powerful plasma beam spewed out of Bagan's jaws and slammed into Destoroyah's chest. The living oxygen Destoroyah shrieked in agony as he was blown backward. Destoroyah crashed into a heap of buildings. Is that where this is? A city? Anyway. His chest smoked from the hot plasma. Bits of his exoskeleton hide were broken off. Even with his injuries, Destoroyah still wouldn't succumb to defeat. He slowly righted himself while Bagan charged forward, each step he took causing the earth to tremble. Bagan lashed out with his tail, striking Destoroyah's back and flooring him. Bagan repeated the attack, only for Destoroyah's tail pincher to clamp onto it and stop it from landing. Pass.
When the Destroyer rose with a furious shriek, he and Bagan were locked in a showcase of strength. Their tails turned towards opposite directions, trying to tear the other from the stumps. Both monsters glared at each other, neither showing their foe mercy. Then Bagan's tail finally succeeded and tore Destoroyah's own tail from his owner. Destroyer shrieked in agony from the loss of his tail, while massive amounts of yellow blood sprayed wildly out of the wound. Bagan roared viciously and victoriously and whacked Destoroyah in the right cheek with the creature's own severed tail. While Destoroyah fell on the ground, Bagan ripped the pincers out of his tail and tossed the maimed appendage aside like garbage. Destoroyah tried to stand, but with a vicious kick by Bagan sent him soaring through the air before he landed on a nearby section of streets. Destoroyah shrieked at his injuries. His tail was gone, his left wing was badly broken, his chest was still wounded. Bagan laughed at his foe's injured state, and more so at his struggle to stand. Most would have found Destoroyah's determination to keep fighting inspiring. Bagan, however, thought it was a pathetic excuse to delay his inevitable demise. He would just accept his doomed fate. Well, he should just accept his doomed fate. Destoroyah glared at the approaching demon. Bagan merely took his time to approach, knowing the Precambrian's terror time was up. Bagan arrogant stride made Destoroyah more furious. For him, this wasn't a challenge of survival. It was a test of pride, a challenge he refused to fail. But as strong as his will was, Destoroyah's body was badly wrecked. He needed a new plan of attack. Bagan approached Destoroyah with his claws clenching each other. He couldn't wait to dig them into this lesser beast's hide and tear it open. Suddenly, Destoroyah's body disappeared underneath a blanket of white mist. Bagan bellowed fiercely at what his foe was doing. His mouth shined white, and his powerful plasma breath raced through his throat, striking the cloud of smoke. The ground exploded from the attack, causing the mist to vanish. Bagan glanced over the site with curious eyes. A wicked smile moved across his gruesome face. Destoroyah was completely gone. He raised his head and bellowed towards the heavens. He had won. With his foe vanished, Bagan turned away from the grave he burned, ready to take his vengeance on the world. But then the ground exploded all around him. Taking him by surprise, dozens of Destoroyah's aggregates surrounded Bagan, dumbfounding the beast as they crawled towards him. This creature can become smaller versions of himself? He had never seen this ability during their last match. Bagan fired his plasma breath at the nightmarish creatures, but the army of aggregates simply crawled out of the way. One of the many beasts crawled onto Bagan's sides, piercing his hide with his top legs. Bagan growled in frustration from his failure to dislodge the creature. The arrogant crawled onto Bagan's mammoth head and sprayed a micro-oxygen beam into his eyes, completely dissolving it.
Ooh.
Several aggregates then crawled on top of Bagan while the rest disappeared back into the soil. One by one, their micro-oxygen beams covered Bagan from head to toe. Eventually, the demonic titan was forced into the ground from the assault while their foe down. The creatures then retreated back into the ground. Bagan snarled and grabbed one unlucky arrogant with his claws. The helpless beast shrieked and squirmed as it tried to escape. Bagan simply crushed it.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes, it's your turn.
How many do I get?
4.
4? Okay. The corpse of the dead creature fell as Bagan stood and looked around. Where did the beast go? Bagan then roared with such a rage it made the world shudder in fear. Shudder? That's the wrong...
I think shudder is like, ugh. Oh, yeah, it's shudder, not shutter. Yeah, I guess the world shudder, like the,
Suddenly, Bagan shrieked in pain when a micro-oxygen beam carved into his back and forced him to kneel. An all-too-familiar shriek mocked Bagan from behind, sparking the dragon into a rage. He looked behind him and saw Destoroyah, now in his final form, charging right for him. The creature was back in perfect health and ready for round 2. Even though this is still round 1. Destoroyah cruised into Bagan at such a speed that the dragon had no time to dodge his attack at cruising speed. Destoroyah smashed his left hand into Bagan's cheek, knocking the monstrous killer down with a bitch slap. Destoroyah landed several yards away and shrieked towards Bagan to come. Wait, hold up a second. Yeah, he hit Bagan away. Why is he going yards away? Okay, never mind. Shrieked towards Baggins to come get him. That makes more sense. Baggins snarled and charged with his claws extended towards Destoroyah. Destoroyah grabbed Baggins' claws with his own and stopped him. The two beasts grappled with each other until Destoroyah's horn charged with energy. The newly revived monster tilted his head down onto Baggins' own and carved it cleanly in half. That must hurt. With his head split... Bagan's body stumbled backwards. Destoroyah unleashed another laser horn which sliced Bagan's head clean off, letting it crash to the ground with a massive thud. With the head severed off, Destoroyah fired a micro-oxygen beam into the stump. The purple-colored beam erupted out of Bagan's back and nearly tore the dragon in half. Destoroyah watched Bagan's mutilated corpse crash to the ground, and with his foe dead, Destoroyah unleashed a cry of victory. Winner, Bagan, pass. Destoroyah, pass.
However, it was cut short by a sudden realization. Destoroyah stepped back and shockingly watched as Bagan's back healed and his head regenerated slowly. The living oxygen destroyer realized what was happening and ready to move. He opened his wings and grabbed Bagan's newly formed head with his tail, then slowly dragged the larger kaiju along the ground before he found his destination, a large body of water. It was the perfect place for his plan. Before he could reach the water, another diamond storm cut into his body. Destoroyah shrieked in pain as a projectile was carved into his torso, wings, and tail. Destoroyah released Bagan, who had fully healed from his injuries, and landed onto the shoreline. With his new eyesight, Bagan charged and Destoroyah at full speed, knocking him into the water. Destoroyah tried to stand, but a swipe from Bagan's tail sent him crashing farther from the shore. Bagan stepped into the water, his rage fully taking control as white particles formed in his maw. The dragon fired a plasma beam into the water and onto Destoroyah, causing him to shriek in pain as a large eruption of water followed the beam's impact. Bagan arrogantly snarled before he leapt into the air and landed on top of the beast. Destoroyah cried out as his wings were crushed underneath Bagan's mammoth weight. Bagan then raised his claws, ready to carve Destoroyah's head in half when another mist appeared, signaling the breakdown of Destoroyah. The disappearance of his foe caused Bagan to crash face first into the water. Bagan's eyes and mouth were open as the beast gasped for air, allowing Destoroyah's swarm to enter his body. Before Bagan could lift himself out of the water, he felt the billions of microscopic Destoroyah dissolving his flesh, eyes, and muscle. Bagan raised his head out of the water and bellowed in pain. The flesh on his face and neck disintegrated in seconds, leaving only the neck bones and skull in their place. His eyes were completely gone, and thanks to some of Destoroyah's swarm being inside their sockets, they couldn't regenerate. And pass.
Take it away, Alex.
Now,
Oh.
just then, an entire army of destroy aggregates leapt out of the water and landed on top of Bagan. Their combined weight and Bagan's agony pushed him back into the water. The aggregates rejoined the swarm and entered into the exposed areas of Bagan's neck and head. A microscopic army ran amok Bagan's body, dissolving every piece of muscle and flesh they could touch. Soon all that remained of Bagan's body was a massive skeleton. Spooky. For the moment, the area remained silent and continued to be as a red horn rose from the water. Destoroyah and his final form wandered back onto land, with his tail carried the skeletons of Bagan behind him. Destoroyah tossed Bagan's skeleton onto land, and with a mighty shriek, he made his way toward it. The victor crushed Bagan's skull with his feet, snapped the dragon's horns with his claws, and sliced apart Bagan's spine with his horn katana. When Destoroyah finished Bagan's skeleton became a pile of dust that blew away in the wind. Just like Kaiju X's favorite movie, Gone with the Wind.
Second favorite movie. You know what my favorite one is.
Oh, Birth of a Nation?
That's the third. Yeah.
Wow, the first movie must be really racist then.
No, it's Virus.
Figures. Because it kills all the colored people.
Oh no!
Dang it! How dare you?
Destroyer parted his wings and shrieked victoriously towards the heavens. The title of Earth's true bane of life was his. With Bagan truly gone, he was free to slay whatever he pleased. Perhaps he could even get a rematch with Earth's mightiest creatures, especially Godzilla. Destroyer.
Yeah, Winter Destroyer. That was a little underwhelming. A lot more underwhelming than I remember it being. I do like the ending. That is a good utilization of Destroyer's, microscopic biology. That part I liked. The rest of it, though, felt... Don't get me wrong. I'm aware that this was posted and made and reviewed in a very different time for all of us. But with modern sensibilities in mind and how we, kind of critically analyze things, I have to say this one's kind of underwhelming. It's just there. It's like you don't get too much of a sense of the landscape aside from what the banner presents. And even then, that's just two giant versions of Bagan Destroyer over exploding Earth, so, you kind of figure it's dark, but it doesn't do too much to establish itself. It just kind of gets on with it and kind of moves on. And even so, the writing for Thomas Eckert, while he is a solid writer down the line, obviously we all have a beginning, and not all beginnings are graceful, and I can't say that's the case with this one. It's rough around the edge. It's an alright fight. It's about as average as 142, but hampered down with some more noticeable mistakes that are intertwined in there that could have been polished. That said, that could have been my fault. That could have been Greyshot's fault for not, being a little bit more critical with it at the time. So, but even so, it's alright if you find, and even then, even the whole bag, don't even get me started on the whole Bagan is weak, post 56 Bagan, it's using that one. It's like, oh boy, here we go. This is the one everyone seems to use when it comes to just writing Bagan is not OP. It's like they have to justify it when you kind of don't need to. I don't know, but yeah, this one doesn't really do much for me. I don't hate it, but I find it below average. So, Bacon, what'd you think of it?
I mean, as a sequel to Fallout, it's alright. It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, it's underwhelming, but it's serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple parts that I liked. I liked the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I liked when many destroyers are used. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really remember those being used that often.
They're used. Maybe not as often as you would think, but they are used.
I reckon there's that. There are parts I like. It's just, like you said, it's underwhelming.
Alright, Alex, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was okay. I mean, yeah, at the time I really liked it, but yeah, it's a little rough around the edges, but I still think it's kind of solid.
Alright.
Definitely one that I think it was better to post it back then compared to now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when it came to coming back from the KWC, second match is a sequel to 56, so that's fun. All right.
Yeah, solid match, just has its problems.
All right. Nagoda, what'd you think of it?
For a moment there, I forgot this was 56 Bagan. Like, Bagan versus everyone, Bagan.
Yeah.
And then he got decapitated, shot inside out from the beam, and regenerated back to full health.
Well, as full health as you could be, just
Or
restoring your
mostly.
physical body, yeah.
Yeah, he restored himself too. Banner is really simple looking, just Bagan's face staring at Destroyer's face with a giant. Is that a burning earth?
I think that's a
or-
burning earth, yeah, because it's like they're both the
Okay.
apocalyptic destroyers, and the planet. Pretty much.
Got it.
That was perfect.
But it's also really dark.
Yeah, it's really dark for some reason. You can kind of I'm having a hard time making out some of the finer details. I'm sure it hides some of its
Whose
flaws.
fault was that?
Tyler's. I don't make banners for a while. It's going to be a hot minute before we get to a banner I made. So, anyway.
Ah, yes, the clowning will begin shortly.
Did you have anything else?
Clowning has already begun.
Gosh darn it. Did you have anything else to add on Nagoda? Or?
I guess that's it. Banner's a bit dark. Forgot this was overpowered soul eating Bagan for a while until he kind of just came back from death. And I like how he died. That was a fun death.
Yes. Again, agreed. Death, I think, is the highlight of this one. So, it's definitely this one's ending that prevents it from being forgettable for me. That is a good usage of Destroyer's abilities right there.
It was a good death.
These gosh darn voice filters. Anyway, Ditto, what'd you think of it?
Well, I agree. It was compared to the last match, this one's like pretty cool. Like, I think it's a step above it. But still, I agree with Nagoda. The whole like decapitation and then back exploding regeneration thing was like, that was like, wow, that was really fast kind of thing. And it seems really outlandish because, like, I don't know, Bagan doesn't seem like a kind of monster that would just regenerate that fast.
Yeah.
And
Like, if it was
then you
Destoroyah, I could see it.
I mean,
Bagan is like,
he could chest burst out of Baragon's fucking stomach.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Chestburster Baragon. That's brilliant.
Anyways, yeah, I agree. The ending was also cool. You know, having a Bagan skeleton. That was pretty neat. And I liked how the aggregates were like slowly tearing down Bagan, like with his eyes and his muscles and all that. So, like, if you wanted to defeat Bagan, like, I guess dissolving him is like the best way to go. Or at least this version of Bagan.
Destroyer killed Bagan.
Yeah. And anyway, I think I haven't read this match in a while, but the most memorable thing for me was when Destroyer got his tail ripped off. That's like the part I remember most, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah. The banner is, yeah, I agree, it's too dark. I think if the burning earth was brighter, it would look a little nicer. I do like how Bagan and Destroyer are kind of like looming over it, like doomsday is inevitable, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So,
But yeah, like if the earth was just a bit brighter, I think that would do. Or just the whole banner in general.
whole banner could have used some
Then
brightening.
Yeah. Then it'd be like A+. Other than that, yeah, that's about it.
All right. Thanos snaps his fingers. Bagan's skeleton became a pile of dust that blew away in the wind. Well, we know who didn't live that one. No, I'm kind of surprised. I'm actually surprised at the responses given. I'm actually kind of surprised with the general reception for this one. No, that's actually the most surprising thing about this reading is y'all's responses for being more positive when I feel a little bit more lukewarm about it. Interesting. Very interesting.
Well, that's because it has Bagan, everyone's favorite.
Bagan! Anyway. But
Did you
nevertheless,
say fagin?
that's a story for another time. I'll go watch Gone with the Wind again. Anyway, with that said, this has been match 143, and we'll see you guys next time for match 144. Till then, everyone.
Bye.
Fuck you.
There's that classic Alex.